Hello traders, it's Samurai Trader here. Welcome to my recording. In today's recording I'm going to be showing you some live trades that I took last week on the DAX. Now the DAX is a market that I haven't traded before. It's a European market. I've traded very actively the FESX, and I just thought it'd be a really good example to show you some trades that I took on that market. And it was actually for a new client that's based in Europe. He trades the DAX, and when I had an email from him read the commissions and the brokerage, I went back to some research reports which I want to just read a couple of things from, because I think all of that is really relevant, particularly the higher the commissions, the harder it is to make money, of course. So what are the trading opportunities if you are European based, or perhaps even based in the US or Southeast Asia? Well, of course, we've got the DAX, we've got the FESX, Euro Stocks X50, which is a fantastic market. Now, by the way, the DAX is 25 euros a point, moves in half a point increments. You've got the FESX, which is 10 euros per point. You've got the NQ, which is $20 a point, moves in $5 increments. The YM, which is $5 a point, and you've got the ES, which is $50 a point, moves in 0.25% increments, $12.50 at a time. Now, another really important thing, traders, is of course the margins that you need to put up. Now, that is, if you're trading the NQ or the YM or the ES after the market closes, you've got to make sure per contract, and this is required by my broker, and most brokers are the same, that you've got to have around between $4,000 and $5,000 per contract in your account. Now, during the market hours, the main US market hours, that drops down to around 25% of that. So let's just say around $1,000 per contract. Now with the DAX, if you're trading full margin, you need to have 20,000 euros in your account. You can day trade during their market hours for around 5,000 euros in your account. The FESX, in comparison, which is the European market, is the full margins only 2,577 euros, or 25% when the main market is open. Well, actually the Euro Stock X50 and the DAX, they close at the end of the trading day, the European trading day. So before we get on to the charts, I'll show you, if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. Also, you can purchase all of my trade setups. I have 12 core setups, 3 or 4 that I use every single day. Easy to learn step-by-step instructions, indicator settings, and over 7 hours of online video instruction. I thought it was going to end up as 5 hours, ended up over 7 hours, close to 8 hours, plus 4 hours of recorded live trading sessions, and I should put an S on there, actually, recorded live trading sessions and trading strategy recaps. So there's actually in total around 12 hours of information on how to trade my trading setups, which, as you're about to see, work brilliantly on all markets and all time frames. Now before we do that, of course, we need to, or I need to, put up a risk disclaimer here, required by law, particularly for the US authorities. Please feel free, if you're new to my YouTube channel, to have a read of that. If you haven't already done so, please go down the bottom right hand corner here and expand your screen to full screen. You'll be able to do that on YouTube. Just make it a little easier to see some of the trade entries and some of the things I'm about to explain. Now very soon, it'll probably be another month or two, but soon in my mind, I'll be launching a live trading room, which will only be a maximum of 50 members only. And the reason it'll be limited is I'm an active day trader, as most of you know, and I still want to be able to trade. And when you're trading, live trading and answering questions, it's very time consuming, and I find it difficult to do 10 things at once: answer questions and live trade. So I'm going to limit how many people I've actually got in the live room. So once again, please, if you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you'd like further information, just before we go to the charts, on my course, the fast track program, please email me. with your newer experience, you'll see, as you're about to see, my setups achieve spectacular results. So let's have a look at this, moving right along. So this is Friday night. Now Friday, of course, in the US, this is Friday night Australian time. In the US, Friday during the day, it was 4th of July. It was a public holiday. So what we saw was very low volume. When the US is closed, of course, globally our volumes are right back. But I could see this market was still moving. Now I've never traded the DAX before, so I thought, okay, I'm going to go in with one contract. And let me just run through a couple of the setups, and I'll show you the live trades that I took, and you can see them marked up, and a couple of things that I really learned about the market, which is some valuable feedback I want to give you. Now first of all, we had a classic T2 here for all of my clients. We know that's a beautiful T2. We had one here, but we're right up against the pivot. Then we had a classic T19A, beautiful divergence trade, and a pivot bounce. So we can see our open up the top here. We down here, bounced beautifully. Then I turned my screen on, so I wasn't live trading, and you can see here I jumped in on a T10 here, and if I remember correctly, I'm just going to another screen here, I actually jumped in a little late, and at the time I was looking at a volume chart, a 133 volume chart, which you can't see. It's up above this screen, and you can see here that I had a T10 on this particular chart. Now by the way, this is an 89 tick chart, so this is the DAX 89 tick chart. So you can see here, and I know it's a little hard to see, you can see here it automatically plots my entries and exits, I should say, excuse my grammar there, on TradeStation. So I entered here, exited here. Now in this particular case, my stop was down 2 ticks down below here. Now normally speaking, and I jumped in this and should have done a little more research on this particular market, and I got out a little early. By the way, this is my 200, so it should have been up. My profit target should have been a little higher there, but anyway, I got out. It was a winning trade. We got out. Now up here I then took this one here was looking at my top screen here. This was a pivot bounce. I then shorted the market. See, I've gone up, hit the pivot, my zero lag had rolled over. I then shorted the market here. Now in this particular case, I had my stop up here somewhere, and I had my target under the 89. Now the 89 EMA is a logical spot, and most of you know that generally that's where I'll get out. I'll usually have my target, I'll front run the 89. Here I was under the 89, and it actually went around, bounced off the 89, and before I knew it, it shot up there and stopped me out. And it was a fairly wide stop I had there. Now the problem is with this market at 25 euros per point, this is 400 or 500 euros. I mean, these are really big wide stops. So that is why the margin when you're trading the DAX is 20,000 euros, or the day trading margin as low as 25%, but it's really high. And that's why I want to show you quickly what other options do you have. Of course, you've got the FESX, the YM, the NQ, the ES. They're the sort of, besides oil and gas and things like that, they're the sort of main markets I trade. So let me just go back to some of these trades. So I got stopped on this particular trade here. I then had another beautiful pivot bounce, and you can see here I had beautiful divergence. I had a T10 then form, and I jumped in, and you can see where I front run this, and it actually bounced there for a couple of minutes on the 89. Now the point I'll bring up here is I also broke that rule there on my risk reward, because I put my stop up here. So very important, traders, that you always have a minimum of 1-to-1. So once again, this is my first time in trading this particular market. Now what I say to all traders and in my course is this: of course you're going to normally demo trade or use your simulator at least 100 times on each setup until you get to own that setup. Now I own the setups, I know the setups backwards, so I'm quite comfortable to go live. But the thing which I hadn't really picked up on this is really how wide these stops need to be here. Now I then got out, it then hovered around, and then it dropped through, punched through. Then that formed for my traders, you know, this is a classic 89 bounce right here. I then shorted here on what we call a T25. So I shorted here on a T25. I put my stop well up, just a few ticks up here again, and it actually went against me. I took some heat there, and then I shorted again because we had a quasi T2 and a pivot bounce. So you can see I shorted again. I got out. Now my target, and it actually come down almost within the tick. You can see my target was this low, and this is something that I recommend that you really look at when you are trading. If you've had a previous high or a low, that is, price will quite often drive through and test that point, which is exactly what it did there. So you can see where I shorted, my entry was up here, I was already in this trade, I went again and down it went, and I got out right just above. I front run that, and it ticked through a couple of ticks, and bang, I was out. Now moving along there, so I was up 654 US dollars actually on this one, on one contract. But the point is with the DAX is the size of the stops on the big contract. It's not something I would trade regularly. Your volume, having a quick bit of research on the volume, was about only 20% of the FESX, which has got some fantastic, on the Euro Stocks 50, which has got some fantastic volume every day. Now just looking back, I just wanted to quickly give you some information, and this will be really relevant for the Forex traders that trade Forex. Back in 2009 I carried out an extensive research report into the effects of brokerage and commissions. Now I'm broker neutral, by the way, but this report I did back then was based upon Gain Capital and MB Trading. Both are two fully regulated brokers in the US. Now what was really interesting was the profitability by trading MB was incredible. Now over this particular month, now this is going back March in 2009, but this was trading the 34 EMA bounce. For an example over here, so traders on the right, you can see here we've got a classic, besides being a T2, this also goes up and bounces off the 34. Now with Gain Capital, and I won't go into all the rules with this, we had for the month of, what was that, April 2009, we had 261 trades for the month. Now the end net result at the end of the month was we were up 962 pips. So now with MB trading, because the targets were small, because the spreads was a lot more competitive, we were up 1540 pips, 962 to 1540. And some comments here I've got in my research report was this excuse me, that with Gain, when we were doing our trading, we had to allow a total stop loss of 26 pips because of the spread and being market makers. Now I'm not sure what the latest with Gain is, because I don't trade with them. Now with MB trading, because their spreads are a lot more competitive, our stop was an average of only 22 pips, 4 pip difference. But where it got really interesting was we hit our profit targets quicker because we had a lower spread, which means our profitability was through the roof. Let me say that again. Because our target was a set target on our first contract, we were trading 2 contracts on this particular test, we were hitting our profit targets a lot quicker. Hence we had a higher percentage of winning trades. Plus, one of the rules in this report was that we could only be in one position at a time, and because we had lower commissions, we were out of a trade quicker because we hit our profit targets earlier, which meant we were able to enter additional trades. And for the month we had 2 4 5 6 additional winning trades because of that. The point of what I'm saying here is commissions have a huge effect. Now that is where I've discovered that some brokers are charging on the full contract here 24 points or 50 euros per trade, which is incredibly expensive. Even if you break it down into mini contracts, and I won't go into how this gentleman's actually trading at the moment, but the point is that when we trade the ES, the YM, the NQ, even the Euro Stock X 50, I mean we're paying around $4 between $4 and $5 per contract in brokerage. So brokerage has a huge effect on your bottom line. So that was one point I wanted to get across. Now the other thing, just while I think of it too, so it's Monday, we've just had the Greek vote go through and we've seen a huge drop in the market. Futures markets around the world have had a big gap down over the weekend, and this is one of the reasons why as day traders we don't hold overnight positions,